Welcome to another episode of the Chess4Life Spotlight, where we meet amazing individuals from around the world with this commonality: chess positively influencing their lives or the lives of those they work with. I'm your host, Elliott Neff, National Master, founder of Chess4Life, and author of A Pawn's Journey, Transforming Lives One Move at a Time. With me today is Kyle Haining. He's been a co-national champion in chess. He's a national master, just graduated from college and moved into his career in computer science. Really excited to chat with you today, Kyle, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Elliott. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure having you, of course. And can we let our audience get to know you just a little bit further? So first off, your name, where you're from, what you're focused on at this stage in your life. Can you give us a little bit of that background, maybe throw in,
Sure.
Something like your favorite hobby or sport too, outside of chess, that is.
All right. So my name is Kyle. I'm from Seattle area in Washington State. So I'm now working as a software developer at a company. It's Office Depot, or technically it's a startup within Office Depot. I graduated from the University of Washington, and outside of work, I like to play chess, go to church, and hit the gym. And hitting the gym might be my favorite hobby, I'd say.
Nice. That's awesome. Is that an individual sport for you or a team one?
I like to go with some people sometimes, so some of both.
Cool. So you are just launching into your career of computer science. And while we're doing that, can you share just, what would be like, let's say, a key highlight from your last year? Because you've gone through a lot of transition, even during this time of the COVID disruption over the last 2 years. So what would you share as like your best success or progress in the last couple of years?
A fun highlight, or one of them I'd say, is I did work teaching high schoolers chess this past year. And we got to go to the state team tournament, which was in person. And we actually got to stay overnight at a casino. And that was interesting.
Absolutely. Sounds fun. So before we dive into all of this history about chess and your participation in the game and such, do you mind sharing something unique that most people probably would not know about you?
I'd say when I was young, I wanted to be an entomologist when I grew up, which is someone who studies bugs.
That's awesome. Is that still on the bucket list, or is that still an interest, or
No,
when did that change?
I don't plan to be one anymore, but I still like bugs sometimes. It's fun to look at them and learn about them.
Nice. Awesome. So you being a national master in chess, let's talk about this a little bit. So when did you learn to play the game of chess, and what developed your interest in the game, and what really led you to becoming and achieving a national master title, which is one of the top titles in chess, or at least puts you in the top percentage of players in the US?
Yeah, so I started learning in first grade. How it happened, I came across a book at my school library that was about chess, and I knew the topic. Like, I think I had some friends who were in chess club, but something about the book just caught my eye, and I took it home. My dad at the time, he actually had cancer, so there wasn't much he could do, but he could teach me to play chess, and so that's what he did, and that's how I picked up the game. And then for how I went on, I think some is just, the love of the game, playing it at school, at tournaments, and just being around chess. And also, it does take effort and dedication. There's one summer where I did spend sometimes 4 or 5 hours in a day studying chess. And of course, I have to give credit to people who helped me too, like my dad and coaches who gave me lessons. So I think it was a combination of factors that led me to where I am now.
Very cool. So it took a team to achieve your objectives in chess. So you started in first grade, you mentioned, and you enjoyed the game. When did it become serious, or did it ever become a serious activity for you? Meaning, I'm so committed to this, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get better. Or has it just been always a fun activity that you just love doing?
I'd say it's a mixture of both. starting in second grade, that's when I started competing in tournaments and taking lessons.
Mhm.
And I'd say that's where it started to get more serious for me.
Nice. Awesome. So let's talk just a moment about the benefits of chess. So, you've obviously played chess now since elementary all the way up. You're in, your early start of career. What kind of benefits do you see that the playing the game or learning the game can give individuals?
Yeah, what I love about chess is I think there's so many, just from like learning to focus to strategizing, decision making, sportsmanship. For me, maybe one that's relevant is just like critical thinking. And
Hmm.
for my work now as programming, there's a lot of logical step-by-step decision making. And I think that's kind of similar to chess, where you think a move at a time or moves deep. There's kind of that step-by-step process involved.
Cool. Can we unpack that a little bit further here? So, I'm also a national master in chess and studied the game, also started at an early age, and my dad also taught me, so some similarities there. And maybe one of the differences is that I really had no formal chess coaches, a help here and there with a training match or two, but for myself, I just was reading 100+ chess books, and studying hard and trying to get better. And so when we talk about the parallel between chess thinking as, let's say, a master level player in chess, or even a regular player trying to navigate through this complex field of possibilities, and you talk about how that parallels to your coding work today. Imagine you're talking to someone who's never done coding, doesn't really understand it. Can you draw that parallel a little bit deeper to say, hey, here's what that looks like in coding and how that translates to how you think on a chessboard?
Yeah, sure. So with coding, I'd say it's like chess in that there's different like levels to think at. On the basic level, there's just, what line of code am I going to write? And you just think it one line at a time. How am I going
Yeah.
to,
So you mean
step
kind of
by.
like saying, I'm trying to accomplish X, so what do I write to accomplish that?
Yeah. So there's very much you're thinking, what lines of code do I need? What functions, what steps am I going to take to get to my end goal? Then at a higher layer, there's other bigger things to worry about, like or be concerned about, like the infrastructure level or just like relationships between modules and just higher order levels. And that's kind of like chess too, where there's a move by move part, and there's also a more overarching,
Cool.
bigger perspective.
Yeah, I love that, because in playing chess, we talk about how after you've gone beyond the basics of learning how the pieces move, then there are these elements of tactics and, the pins, forks, skewers, and all these different methods, basic checkmate patterns. So that would be almost like working on a single line of code or something is what I'm gathering from you. And I'm not a programmer, even though I've talked with programmers at different times. So this is helpful for me too. And then thinking about that larger picture. So now here's the bigger plan and where to go. One of the things I like to say in terms of playing chess is, as a master level chess player, I like to think about playing chess backwards. In other words, what's my goal in a position based upon what's going on? And only then backtrack it to what are the steps and path to get there. Would you say that's similar to how you think in your terms of your coding? You're basically going, okay, end goal, parameters, and then backing it up. Am I on track there or not being a programmer?
Somewhat. I think with programming too, there are different styles where some people might think that way. But I'd say another parallel is in programming. There's a lot of time you're just stuck. It doesn't work, and you just need to kind of debug it and figure out why. And there's kind of, I guess, a parallel in chess too, where you might be going over a game again, or a lot of times you just are stuck in a sense and need to figure out the best continuations.
Right. So basically what I'm hearing you say is a lot of problem solving.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thanks for sharing that about that parallel. Now, diving back into your chess, what is one of the top highlights of your chess memories, if you don't mind sharing?
Sure. Um, I say one time I was staying up late playing chess at night, and I got paired against Caruana, who, as you know, is
Right.
he was second world number 2 in his best. I thought about writing at that time. I didn't, but I thought about writing like, I hope to see you play in the world championship one day, which, as you know, he did.
That's awesome. Should I ask how the game went?
Okay, I lost, but I didn't get destroyed. It was I held my own for a while.
You felt good about your game. And, talking about you losing the game brings me to something that we love to talk about at Chess4Life, which is a mindset. So we all lose chess games, and we like to tell young players your mindset should be, or could be, you win, you draw, or you can learn. We like to say, how do we learn and get better? And what I hear you saying is you analyzed many of your games to go figure out what could you have done to get better. Can you talk about that aspect of improving your game?
Yeah, sure. One of the most difficult parts of chess is just coping with losses. It can really sting, especially when you have an hour-long game and you're winning, but then threw it away in a single move. But just having that will and determination to kind of, you'd rather just put it away, but to still look at it and try to learn from it. For me, I was blessed to have coaches, and we could go over the losses together and really just find out, what did I do wrong? What do I need to improve next time? And it's just so critical to improving and becoming a better player.
Absolutely. And what a great value that is if you can have access to coaches who have experience, who can help you quickly pull out the lessons from those games and improve from them. Absolutely. So moving on here, do you have a chess game that you would like to share, or something, and then maybe you have something special about that game? And what we could do is not necessarily go into the moves right here, but we could link to it in the comments or post it. Is there a game that comes to your memory beyond the Caruana one that you would be like really proud to share to our audience?
Oh, okay. I was thinking to share actually a loss that I had. It was a very interesting loss, and I used it before in one of my high school lessons as a lesson on like how to beat Coach Kyle. And what's special about it was it's not just a loss, but I got absolutely destroyed in like 15 moves. And my opponent played with 100% accuracy according to chess.com. And I suspect it was almost all home preparation. I just got wiped off the board.
Wow. Now, you're saying that and you would like to share it. Actually, I made the assumption we could just share it later, but are you prepared to show it right now?
Yeah, sure.
That would be awesome.
All right.
I'm eager to see this one. And thank you also for being willing to share one of your learns.
Yep. All right. So I was playing white here. Mm-hmm. It's an online game. So they play a line of the Scandinavian where they want to take back with the knight instead of the pawn.
Okay. And the time control of this game, was it looks like a 10-minute match?
Yeah, it was a rapid game.
So 10 minutes each side for the whole game?
Yep. And so here, usually they take back with the knight, but my opponent instead played bishop out here. And here I decided, usually it's not a good idea to be greedy and hold on to the pawn with like c4. But here, now that I have a pawn on d4, I started to get greedy. I thought about, I'll try holding on to my extra pawn. And they play e6 here.
So what we have going on right here is basically your opponent playing the dark pieces has given up a pawn. And in exchange for being behind a pawn, your opponent has developed more of their pieces from the back row, trying to build an attack, I would assume, as quickly as possible.
Yeah. And so here they played e6, and surprise, surprise, they sacrifice a second pawn. They don't recapture that. Yeah.
And so even allowing you to take the pawn with check, forcing your king a little bit into the open.
Yeah. So here I'm 2 pawns up. It turns out here is a blunder. From here, black is starting to be better because they're just have such a lead in development.
Wow.
Okay, hold on to the pawn. This check is really unpleasant. Yeah, I have to play king up myself. And then here starts a brilliant combination. They take, and Elliott if you can find the best move for black here, I'll be very impressed. It's a
The first
very
move that comes to my
amazing
mind
move.
is actually knight g4 check.
Close. There's a way you can set it up first. And this brilliant move, bishop c2. Yeah, so
That did not cross my mind in the
yeah.
least.
So I
So
can't
it's trying to
take,
draw the queen away from the pawn in the middle, right? Because then wow.
yeah, I can't take because the queen comes here. I think rook here is next, and they just come crashing through. But what's so brilliant about it is the obvious move. I just don't take, right? And what's so
Correct.
great about this bishop here? Like,
Oh, and now the knight g4.
yeah, now knight g4,
So
and you have
the
this.
reason knight g4 check came to my mind, if you back up a turn here, was simply I realized that it's all about attacking this king, which is in the open space, and every turn's going to count.
Yeah,
So the king's going to try to retreat to f2. So I wanted to take it away, drawing the pawn away so that I could play the queen g5 check and keep the king in the open. But I certainly had not seen quickly that bishop c2 first. That is just that is brilliant.
yeah. So this is the skewer. King comes back, rook comes over. I can't hold on to my queen anymore. The
Your
bishop
queen is
guards
lost.
all these squares.
Wow.
And then,
Wow.
yeah, I resigned shortly. And
That's
they only spend
amazing.
about,
With mate and one right here, right? With queen g4 check,
yeah,
mate.
and they only spend about a minute on this game.
So obviously preparation.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So thank you for being willing to share a favorite game and even choosing to show a loss, right? And I want to really point that out a sec here, because many times when we're working with young students, and at Chess4Life, we work with a lot of even, at-risk youth and other ones, sometimes there's this fear of failure, right? And so therefore, they're not unwilling to share their weakness, shall we say, because it's this fear. And that's one of the things that I love about the game, that mindset of, we win, draw, and we learn. Like you said, there's the pain of losing, and it is a personal thing, and having to learn to get through that. It always reminds me of Hikaru Nakamura, the multi-time US champion. I knew him since he was young and competing in national tournaments. I remember after he won the US Open, he was interviewed, and one thing really stood out to me there. And he was asked, what are some of the secrets of, what led you to becoming champion? And what he said was, he got over the fear of losing at a really early age. And he felt that that was one of the keys to his becoming US champion. So applaud you again, Kyle. Thanks for sharing that game. So speaking about these mindsets of success, at Chess4Life, we talk about the 10 different ones, and, win, draw, learn. We talk about the can-do attitude, always improve, healthy habits, all these different ones. If you were to think about one or two that really stand out to you as either things you've experienced or you see as very valuable carryovers from chess into, let's say, your career now, which ones would you primarily mention?
I'd say focus is a big one. Yeah, just in chess, when you go deeper and get more competitive, you'll get into longer time controls, longer games. And, I've had games, I believe, that have been like 6-7 hours. Elliott, I remember you were saying you had like a 12-hour one time. It's just very intense focus and concentration that, as a kid, these things don't always come naturally. You want to just play fast. You don't want to record your moves, but you have to really, if you want to get better, you have to really sit down and concentrate and think. And that's something that focus helps you with, almost anything in life. It's just such a valuable mindset. And I think for me personally, it really helped me throughout school, elementary school, high school, particularly junior and senior years of high school get really busy with standardized testing, schoolwork, college applications, all that stuff. And yeah, just being able to focus, I think, is something that has helped me to excel academically. And I actually have a paper I wrote in junior year I wanted to share that's relevant to chess.
Please do. That's awesome to hear. And while you're pulling that up, I'll mention too, from that focus standpoint, for those of you listening who might be new to chess competitions, there's this timer for how much time you spend. And in scholastic tournaments, commonly you would have 30 minutes per side, which equates to a whole hour for one chess game. You can imagine young students who might be, more used to playing video games or other things that have, quick response, now developing and practicing that muscle of focusing for longer periods and how that translates to homework. And as Kyle said, at national tournaments, you're playing sometimes 4-hour matches or even longer. So Kyle, I'm really curious to see what you put together on this topic.
Yeah. So I had to write a math research paper as part of my high school program and decided to write one related to chess about knight's tours. And the mathematical term is closed Hamiltonian paths on knight's graphs. But it's basically finding a way that you start a knight on a square and you try to end back on that square and you try to visit each square exactly once.
So this is like the knight's tour, where the knight jumps from one square to another, covering every square on the chessboard only once, but you're doing it from where any square you start on, you end on that square. Is that correct?
Yeah. Wow. So I was trying to find what size boards does it work on. And at the end, I put together, so this is a 139 by 128 closed Hamiltonian cycle.
Wow.
Knights. Yeah, at first I wanted to do something like 1,000 by 1,000, but then I came to my senses and realized that's 1,000,000. That's so huge. But
wow, this is pretty incredible. So, would you be able to demonstrate the Knight's Tour really quickly?
Oh,
or not?
It's been too long.
Too long. Okay. So,
yeah.
But the concept, if we, move back from this screen to, let's say, a blank chessboard, and we were to move it down a little bit, you can see some of the diagrams here, how the knight can dance around, jumping from one square to another, and you're landing on one at a time. That's really cool. I think I might follow up to this with a link or something to some of the Knight's tours. It's a wow. So you did this in high school?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I hope you got top marks for this project.
My teacher liked it so much, he showed it to one of the classes the year after me, which was pretty cool.
Well, that is really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that. So focus, right? A great skill to carry over into your work today too, right? Ability to focus in upon your projects and such. Now, as we get close to wrapping up here, are you up for challenging me to a chess match?
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Okay, that's awesome. So I just have a few last questions, and then what we'll do is we'll transition and I'll share my screen. And at that point, we'll just play a quick match. And so for those of you listening, if you listen to the end of the episode and then want to watch the game that we're about to play and one we can win, draw, and learn from, stick around for that. So last couple questions. What's a big accomplishment in life that you want to achieve sometime in the next year, something in the next 3 years, something in the next 10 years, and or something as a lifetime goal that you would be open to sharing?
Yeah. So I love chess, and I hope one day I can become an international master. Awesome. I think it's within reach, but I definitely have to focus and dedicate myself and apply myself to it. Yeah, hopefully in the next 10 years, I'd say. Okay. I mean, I have a lifetime to do it, but especially 10 years when I'm still young, it'd be a good goal to have.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And the final question before we move to our chess match is, what advice would you give your younger self, let's say 10 years ago, that you wish you had known then, or what you would have just, advising someone in your similar situation that from your experience, you would say, do this or don't do this?
Yeah. I'd say just taking advantage of the time I have. Each day is a gift. And
Mhm.
same, chess teaches decision making. You can apply it to life too, where, if I went 10 years back and then went on to today, I could be like 100, 200 rating points higher in chess. I could have a six pack, or I could have, I could have made a bigger impact on the community around me. Time is money, as they say, and it's if you decide how you want to spend that time, you can really accomplish things with it.
That's a great point, right? The one thing you never have back is the time behind you. And at the same time, having a mindset that I love to share, that our past is all there just for learning from. So for here, we get a chance to learn from your past, but all of us have the future in front of us. So the key is what we're going to do with the past in order to inform the future and make the best of the future in front of us. So excited. Are you ready for a chess challenge? Do you prefer chess.com?
Yeah, chess.com is fine.
And would you like to do an absolute bullet game 1-0 or a 3-0 match? Or what's your preferred time control for this one?
How about 3-0?
Okay, let's do a 3-0. Do you want to send me a challenge while I pull up my screen?
Sure.
I'm ready for the challenge, or I could even send one to you, either way.
Okay, I sent one already.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. And I think for this one, we'll be probably quiet. Otherwise, we're going to talk through our ideas as we're competing, which is fine. We could do that too. But let me find my share screen button here. Here we are. Over to this one. Here we are, ready for our live chess challenge with Kyle. I'm accepting a 3-minute for the whole game battle. Let's go and have some fun. Nice job, Kyle.
Good game.
Yeah, great job. And in the spirit of win, draw, learn, I dropped a pawn, right? Over at, where was it here? Where would you suggest perhaps I could have improved?
Yeah, back some moves when I took the f3 pawn. I need to try to hold on to it somehow.
Yeah, even here, I thought perhaps bishop a4 first.
Yeah, that's another idea.
To block out your pawns first before going on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, then if I continue along here. So here you lined up on my pawn. I missed you were first targeting the pawn. And I was just thinking about trading off your dark squared bishop.
Maybe you needed to play queen and queen behind your rook and double up that way.
Right, like this. And then
that's unfortunate.
Then I can skewer you though.
Yeah, okay.
Well, really appreciate that game, Kyle. Thank you for playing me here. Thank you for joining our Chess4Life Spotlight. And once again, this is Kyle Haining, and you've shared some amazing things about your chess, your competition. We really didn't touch on something that I would have loved to, and I'm just going to add it here as maybe a postscript, which is you did tie for the national championships. And along the way, you finished strong with 2 giant wins against 2,400 plus rated players. Do you mind adding one little piece about that experience and what that meant?
Yeah, so in high school, I managed to be a tie for first place at the National High School Coach Championship. And I got to play, I believe on my last day, back to back, I played 2 2400s, which is so high rated. I hadn't even played anyone that high rated in Washington State before. I will admit I did get pretty fortunate. My opponent was beating me the last round, but then just blundered. So I got lucky there, but it was a pretty huge tournament victory for me.
Yep. But even to that point, so your opponent was winning the game, but in terms of resilience, you weren't going to give up. You just kept trying your best, and eventually they made a blunder, and you won that. So congratulations once again, Kyle, for your achievements in chess, what you're doing in life. And I really appreciate how you have even applied these skills in high school with that paper. That was pretty amazing. My view, is that something you would be open to sharing publicly?
Sure.
That would be awesome. Thanks again. Appreciate you joining the Chess4Life Spotlight. And everybody, as always, please remember to like and subscribe if you want to hear more amazing stories of chess and life from around the world.
Thanks, Elliott.